Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to discuss the fallacy of rewriting software to save money. This is never rewrite, even though we have strayed somewhat from our core belief that you should never do software rewrites. We're going to go old school today, and we're going to talk about one of the fallacies that people suggest when they do present rewrites. They say, hey, the new code is going to be so much easier to write software in. We're going to be so much more productive, and it's going to save money over the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like it makes sense, but it is a fallacy because it almost never works. And the reason it doesn't work is it requires turning off the old system for it to ever have a chance for the cost savings to come through. You have to turn off the old system. And what almost always happens is the rewrite gets canceled, or the rewrite launches to partial success, and then you have two systems that you're running for twice the money. And so instead of saving money, the rewrite, the idea that, hey, we're going to do this rewrite and the new software will be so much better. Now you're going to have two systems that you maintain, and it'll just be more expensive instead of saving any money.
So how often do you see two systems living next to each other? And the reason I've asked it this way is I know recently I was talking to somebody at a company who wants to refactor part of how their automations work. They already did it once. There's a V2 automation V1, V2, and they want to rewrite it for automations V3. And in this case, when we're thinking about money, it's not necessarily the cost to run the system. It's more the money lost from churning users because the V2 doesn't work as well. It bugs out and the users are mad, so they leave. So running two of them next to each other, like they're going to get V3 going. And there might be some people stuck on V2. They have to port over, sure. But if they rewrite everything and put them on V3, then the idea is this one, because it's going to be written in a TDD fashion and it's going to have less bugs, that even if the old one kept going, the money is negligible, but the bugs have been fixed and the users are not leaving and mad.
Right. So that is a different scenario. The saving money, the idea is it's going to save money in developer time. But my first question to that scenario, so there was version 1, version 2, and now they're talking about version 3. Is version 1 still running?
Yes.
Yes. So you have version 1, and it was going to be replaced by version 2, but now you have versions 1 and 2.
Yep.
And the idea is now you're going to have version 3, and version 3 is going to replace 1 and 2.
It'll totally work this time.
The examples I was going to give are mostly around front ends.
Okay.
And it's a similar scenario that I see where you have the organically grown original, which has problems, and developers launch a rewrite to create a new version that's going to fix all the problems with the first one. And at some point it goes live, and at some later point it stalls out and migration from the first one to the second one stops.
Yep.
And now you're in this scenario where, now the second one has got these, whatever reason it stalled out because it didn't consider a couple edge cases or whatnot. Time passes, and what happens is now they want to do a third version where they're going to fix all the mistakes they made in the second version and get rid of the first version. And what I find in these cases is, one, the first thing that happens, the things that I notice happen is, so you go 1, 2, then you start 3, then the second version, the newer one, will be removed first because usually it's got less functionality or it's easier. And then eventually the original will go away. And so that second one is costly because it's incomplete and you have to rewrite it again.
Right.
Before you get the value of getting rid of the original.
Right.
And that's almost always what happens is the original sticks around much longer than version 2. Eventually, version 3 replaces both. Sometimes. There's a place I'm working with right now where they are on version 5, and all 5 versions are still of the UI are still running in production for
Oh
various
wow.
parts.
Is that
And that's why
expensive?
it's very expensive.
What's
And
expensive
this
about
is,
it?
hmm?
What's expensive about it?
It's expensive because you have package management and security. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have, I'll give an example, one page running off of server-side PHP, one page running on Ember, one page running in React
Oh my
using one
god.
framework, and one page running in React using a different framework. From a security standpoint, all 4 of those things need to be maintained.
Not even just security, but just maintenance from developers. It's expensive. You got to have an Ember guy. You got to have a React person,
Right,
um, which sometimes one person can do all, but not often. That's expensive. Yeah.
right. I can pitch in on the server-side PHP stuff.
Yeah. Right. Same. I can do Ember and React too, believe it or not, but I don't want to do all three of those.
Yes, I don't want to do any of them. But so, here we are at this example where every every new UI version was going to be the new one that was going to replace everything,
Hmm.
and none of them panned out. And now the cost of supporting the software just keeps going up,
Oh yeah.
and it gets
Jeez.
harder because now you've got all these things. And so the stuff that's left over in PHP land, the oldest, is administrative control plane stuff where it's not super important to the users. They're not going to get it very often. And so those are like the least valuable pages are still there, but they're still there. And then there's a migration for the various things. And it's expensive because it's huge load on the developers.
Right. So what needs to happen clearly is I'm a brand new developer. I see all this mess. I like Vue instead. I think we should rewrite all of that in
Mm-hmm.
V6, and we'll have
Yes.
Vue, and everything will be all into one neat little package done the right way in my favorite framework.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that person?
The first thing I say to that person is, this being never rewrite, we'll go through our greatest hits. Uh, Prove that you understand the problem
Hmm.
by migrating all of the existing pages that are in the older versions to the new one. Right? Like until you can migrate all the existing pages, then you can't start again.
Hmm.
And so, the conflation of all of the previous framework versions have to go away, whatever they are. You have to
Hmm.
get all the way to prove that you can finish the project. And you might say, "Oh, but I don't want to get to this new React framework." And it's like, okay, but you're still going to have to do this work to get off of these pages. Like
Right.
that's a set thing. And until we do that, we don't know what it involves. And until we get there, we don't know that you can actually deliver these things. So going back to your example where you've got these expensive automation system where you've got version 1, version 2, and now you're talking about version 3 because version 2 is too buggy.
Hmm.
This is more of a classic rewrite system where I would just fix the bugs on version 2. I would not
Yep.
allow version 3 to go forward until version 2 is not buggy.
Yeah. That's the initial. I was acting in an advisor capacity for this, and my initial advisement was, fix the bugs in V2. Um,
Because
However,
otherwise you'll bring the bugs into V3.
yes. However, the person who originally wrote the system
Mm-hmm.
for V2, the V1 that existed there, they had bought the software from somebody. The person
Mm.
who is there now had built V2, and they were confident that the feature was small enough that V3 could be worked to add these new feature requirements that were very incompatible with V2
Mm.
without a lot of changes. That he could do that in a sprint to do it in this new fashion. And so he pitched this argument. I advised against it. However, the team agreed that we would go forward with his route because of his experience in the area. He was one of the only people who knew this area very well, and he was very confident that he could do this
How many
in a
sprints
better
ago was
fashion.
that?
Hmm?
How many? He was going to be done in one sprint. How many sprints ago was that?
About 3 so far.
And has anything been released?
Nope.
Yeah.
And now there's discussions about maybe using a software like a pre-built open source system for automation management instead of using a homegrown one. Yeah,
Mm.
this is how it leaks out. This is a real live example. Um, so I guess that's actually kind of an interesting topic too. I think we've discussed it in a few different capacities or tangentially, but basically like the political pressure of delivering one thing. There was not really political pressure in this case, but it's just more of the inner relationships of people where like this person had good
Hmm.
sway and good knowledge about it. And I think so far from like looking at his changes, he's done a good job with making it work in a more expected fashion for the new features. I do think we still could have refactored V2, and I think he was suggesting V2 could also be refactored, but there was so much extra he wanted to do, and it was his code, maybe
Hmm.
maybe a little bit of an attachment to doing it his way, such that he ended up wanting to do kind of an overhaul of it. And yes, it kept creeping out and growing, and now there's a little more discussion about what how it should do and how it should behave in the middle of the project. Um,
Right. It's almost like if you don't iterate and continuously deliver, if you don't
yeah,
VC ship, then you end up building a whole new ship.
yep. So we're definitely in that process. We've seen it time and time again. I think this is the first time I've actually seen it, the train happening in front of me.
Hmm.
Because I've been part of them before, and in retrospect, we're like, oh, you should never rewrite because of all these things. And we've talked about it in the podcast. But this is the first time I've come across it, and I was like, oh, we shouldn't do that. And I decided to do it, and I just kind of watched.
Hmm.
And it happened again. Like the exact same things that we've talked about on this podcast for over a year. It's very predictable. This happened in a different flavor, as they do. Each
Right.
different. Every time we talk to somebody who's on the podcast who has done rewrites, some of them were successful, some of them were not. The ones that were successful, the ones that admitted this was complete luck. We would never do this again this way, right?
Yes.
So, um, yeah, and the way it's happening now, I do think the cool thing about this bad rewrite, or it
Hmm.
hasn't failed yet, but the cool thing about it so far is there was this huge surge of wanting this to be very well tested, and they
Yes.
didn't. And the other way, like like what we're talking about, we don't have. We should like if you just do the work to test your current system, then you know how to write the new one.
Yeah.
Their old one, they never had acceptance criteria for. They just started doing stuff. And so for V3, they said, let's actually just talk to customers and figure out what they want. And they fleshed out acceptance criteria for how this thing should behave. So the
Okay.
V3 in this case was a little kind of a nicer flavor because it was approached with testing and customer and features and specs first,
Those are
whereas the
great
other one was
things.
just completely reactive. So I thought it was kind of a neat way to approach it, but it still ends up being caught in the same kind of loop because you got V1 and V2 still going.
Is there active development on V1 and V2?
Um, Almost none. I think almost all automation work has been paused, and
Ah, the
any bug
pause.
fixes, yeah. So they don't want to fix anything in the old system because this will be fixing the new.
Yes, the pause.
The pause.
We should do an episode on the pause.
Yeah, yeah. So far we haven't fixed those bugs. They did do some other cool work too, though, which is basically like look and see who all is using the old automations, such that they can start like writing sunsets. So like new people who come in can't use V1 and V2, like it's hidden from them. They're forced to use the next one. And then there's a migration path to get people off to make the same kind of automation happen in V3, such that you don't have to support V1 anymore. So they have talks about that too. So it's still a
It's
rewrite.
a
It's
whole
still
lot
not
of
going
work.
great. It's a whole lot of work. It's very expensive, but it's actually going slightly better, I think, than most rewrites I've seen so far. This might be one of those rare ones that we see them pull off in a reasonable amount of time. We'll see. You can ask me
Well,
again in a
it's
month.
already 3 times longer than expected.
Yeah, but 3 times in this case is less than 2 months. We'll see though. It could be a
They
year. It could be a year.
they gotta stop cutting bait and fish.
Yeah.
This will
So
be nautical. They need to thesis ship. They need to get that thing in the water.
yeah, we need to get it in the water.
So in summary, the idea that you're going to do a rewrite to save money in developer time, it's a fallacy that pretty much never works because it's extremely unlikely that you'll be able to turn off the original system in any meaningful timeline. And so you end up having two for twice the money.
Yep, or 3.
Or 3. Or 4. And it's especially, this pattern is especially prevalent in UIs.
I've only experienced them in a back-end capacity so far.
I mostly see this one in the front end where we're going to do a rewrite of the front end and then it just balloons because you can't shut off the original UI until you get every single page, and then there's lots of low-value pages, which cause it to linger.
What they should do is the AWS way, which is every page has its own CSS and style change. Go look at it right now. Look at S3. Look at RDS. Yeah. Everything is owned by a different team, different style guide, different everything. Who cares? Update them one page at a time.
Or don't. Just have everybody own their own thing, and then that's the AWS style is YOLO.
Well, each team YOLO. There's some kind of...
There's no... they don't force a cohesion.
Yeah.
And it looks bad, but it works really well.
Sometimes it works really well.
Some of the pages work really well, and some of the pages don't.
Team dependent.
Yes.
All right.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.